Hey guys, and welcome to Armchair Conversations with Rob. Today, I want to spend a little time talking about energy. Not so much from the cosmic perspective, but from the point of transmutation on a personal level in terms of what you do in the world and how it gets out. So, here we go. They say that matter can't be created or destroyed, it just changes form, and energy basically is matter. So, the biggest thing that strikes me about that is change is form. And I think that there is a law of reaction and action and consciousness that you have to remember when you're dealing with the idea of the energy in around you, the energy you put out in the world, and the energy that comes back to you. But mainly, I want to deal with the attraction of energy, and I want to deal with the radiation or what you put out as far as energy goes and how that affects what comes back to you. Sometimes, it's like what came first, the chicken or the egg. It really, in this case, doesn't matter. I'm more concerned with starting with what you put out and how come that brings back to you the energies that you attract. Because sometimes we'll do things in the world and, maybe they're things that aren't necessarily of the highest nature, and then we attract something back that we don't want. We wonder, well, why is this happening to me? Well, it's really truly about what you put out. So let's work on the putting out part. When you are out in the world doing things, you have consequences for every action that you take, positive or negative. And I'm not a person who says that you should only do positive. There are days when you're going to be required to do negative, maybe to offset something that's happened previously or to hopefully bring about a balance, to bring balance to the forces, you hear in the Star Wars films. But I definitely feel like what you put out brings back to you. And also, put out isn't just about like your physical actions in the world, it's also about what's going on between your own two ears. Um, if you are always looking for what's missing, what's wrong, what's not right, you will find it because you're putting out a vibration that says you want that. And then you attract back the answer to that. Um, if you put out things that are socially conscious, responsible, kind, morally and civically, useful, upright, or helpful, you're going to reap the rewards of that. And to me, that is all energy because it starts with energy that then becomes matter, which is either the actions you take, the things you do, or the thoughts you think, and how those things will interact with each other because none of them are really separate. We tend to separate them, I guess, to chunk it and make it easier for us because maybe it feels a little overwhelming to have to think of all those things at once. And so we'll separate them into like what you say versus what you think versus what you do. Um, but they all are related to each other because what you think is a vibration that can influence what you say and even what you do. And vice versa, doing something can also cause you to feel and think a certain way, which then attracts back to you based on that. And so it's something that I want us to be conscious of. So again, this is not a, oh, you need to do it this way kind of speech, but this is a be aware that your vibrations on every level have consequences and they are going to draw to you. And a fun game sometimes to play, if you want a little homework, is to think about what I'm thinking, saying, and doing, and what the possible consequences of that could be. Don't get so bogged down in it that you never do anything, because my motto is always just do something and then adjust from there. But you do have to sometimes play a game with yourself when you are working on yourself to think, if I say this thing, is this going to be positive or negative for me or others or the outside environment? And what might be some of the consequences of that? And it might help you to get better for yourself as far as what comes back to you. If you learn to be kind when necessary or when it's really, really important to be so, you might be surprised at what it will get for you in terms of cooperation, for example. Because my background was in sales. So I tend to think, what if I show this product to a person? because it fits their needs. The likely consequences that they're going to buy, which is going to benefit me. Well, the same thing happens when you're talking about being out in the world and interacting with various people, and even the things you do for the environment. If you want to expand it out a little further, um, how you behave, whether or not you show up and participate, whether or not you um, do the things that are likely to get you toward the consequences you need, is just so important. So just wanted to throw it out there and let's play with it a little more. But now let's go on the other side and attract back. The things that come back to you, sometimes you may not like them, but they are based on what's been put out, because like attracts like. I've heard that before. You've heard as above, so below. You've heard many different references that have something to do with things like for every action, there's an equal and opposite reaction. And so your things that you attract into your life, sometimes you have to step back and look at them and take responsibility, even though it sucks ass sometimes to say that things are happening to you and it's my fault, okay, because of what I've done, what I've thought. Now, I can't say that there are things in the world that happen at random and that don't necessarily mean anything, because there are people that believe that, and I won't debunk them or say whatever, but I do believe that the 99% of what happens to you is due to the things that you have attracted. Various things, whether it's by thought, action, or words. So sometimes you have to take a step back and look and say, gee, this thing's happened to me and I don't like it. Okay, now of course, as I always say, you can adjust because at least you're in motion. But you may have to go back and say, what was it that I did that allowed this to happen? Or, when you ask, why does this happen to me? You'll get an answer. It may not be the answer you like, but you'll get an answer. And again, sometimes you have to be willing to take a moment, even though people say, oh, you should just move forward, and never stop. No, every now and then you should take a moment and listen to the answer to a question like that, because it gives you an opportunity to learn something. But you have to look at it with that heart, not the heart of, oh, then I get the answer and I'm going to flagellate myself because I was so bad. Okay, that's not really the point. The point is to learn and grow so you can move forward toward the things you do want. So you look at the things that happen to you, and maybe you might be able to ascertain why that came back to you, because you may remember something that you did that started that process in motion. Um, it's very poignant to realize that sometimes things happen to you because of the things you do and say, and sometimes things don't happen to you because of the things you do and say. um, you know, you're deciding to be a jerk on a day when you were meeting somebody who could make a decision about, maybe, say, some financial opportunity or a job or whatever can be the reason why you attracted back the lack of abundance of not having that or not getting that job. Case in point, I had a guy once when I was a manager at a store who came in looking for a job, and he was very aggressive and belligerent, and could not understand why I was not willing to hire him. And believe it or not, for whatever reason, I liked the guy, so I took him aside and took a moment to explain to him that there wasn't any reason that I didn't want to hire him other than these things, because they're not conducive to the environment we were in. And so I did not feel, hiring that person was going to affect or benefit all around my store, the customers, my employees. So that being said, take that and expand it out into other things. Maybe there's a part that you didn't get in a movie if you're an actor and actress. Maybe there is a, job you didn't get. Maybe there is a business deal that didn't go through. You can't take responsibility for other people's decisions, but you can take responsibility for having done all that you could do to facilitate something happening. So, again, what you put out brings back to you based on reactions. So, something to take a moment every now and then to think about, to adjust so you can go forward in your life toward the things that you desire. And if you're consistently not getting the things that you want, or not at least making progress toward them, sometimes you need to take a step back and look and see what it is that I'm doing, thinking, or saying that is blocking or preventing that. So, hope you enjoyed this talk. It was a little bit nebulous because I didn't hone down any specifics, but it's a concept, so play with it. So again, if you like me, subscribe. I appreciate that. Give me some comments, give me some feedback. If you don't like me, hey, that's what search engines are for. You'll find something that you need. So in the meantime, no matter which way it goes, do something. And I appreciate you. Thank you for sharing my armchair.